Some people are talented, but they're assholes. Some people are kind, but talentless. Today, I'm talking to one of the most talented, hardworking, kind-hearted people I know. And if you don't already know my guest, after today, I know you're going to be subscribed to her channel and a die-hard, forever fan, just like I am. I'm Patrick Marano, and this is Queerly Us. Now, before we begin, if you enjoy this content, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss an episode. She is Canada's premier RuCapper of all things Drag Race. When she isn't judging the judgeable, she also reviews classic movies, modern makeup, and teaches the children how to sew things. She's a busy queen. Please welcome to the show my friend, Wilma Fingerdoo. Wilma.
Hey, doll!
You're so sweet. Oh my God. It's such a pleasure having you on always. So thank you for doing this.
A day isn't complete without a chit chat with Patrick Marano.
I know. Well, we've done so many. This is your first time on Queerly Us, but we've done other things together. You were on my podcast for the True Gay Crime thing. We talked about some crime stuff. And how long have we known each other, actually?
We started working together at Proud FM. I was there writing.
Yes.
And you were doing reception at the time.
Yes.
And then we both, as stuff happened and the ruling heads at Proud FM decided, oh, we're straight and making decisions for the gay community. They realized they'd made some bad choices, and they moved us both on air. I got fired because they were running out of money, and so by the time I came back in, I think you were there doing reception.
You were the last one standing. Oh,
what's that?
You were the last one standing. Hold on, let me try to change how we look here. I think we can do better. Oh, there. Are you still there?
I'm still here.
Oh, perfect. That looks better. Okay. Hey guys, I'm still learning StreamYard. Oh, and look, I have a banner. I'll put this at the bottom for now.
Nice.
There we go. So yeah, you were like the last one standing. Like we were all.
It's funny. Yeah, they fired me, and then I was gone for a year or so, and then Bob Willett, who was a great person, he managed the station. He did an excellent job. Like for an ally, I thought he was the perfect person with radio experience to run the station, because you can't put a lot of gay people together and go, okay, let's run this, unless somebody knows how to do it.
Yeah.
And so Bob was the person, and he brought me back in after they let me go, because when they had started the station, they already hired all their on-air talent.
Yeah.
And I was an openly gay stand-up comic, and nobody had mentioned
Wait, you're gay?
Shh. And nobody had thought, oh, maybe we should have somebody who's funny on the radio.
Right.
And so by the time I got there, they'd already, filled up their lineup. But
that's right.
As they started changing things around, I had left, but then Bob had me come back. And I was mad that they had me go, only because they kept all these straight people. Do you know what I mean? It was just it was just for me. It's like, you don't have anyone for the community working for this community radio station.
Yeah, yeah.
And
who's gay? Who's
so
queer?
He had me come back in when he was hosting the Drive show, the afternoon show, as a guest host. He had a series of people that came in as guest hosts. And I had suggested to him a couple of stand-up comics, and they had both failed terribly. And he asked me if I could come in.
Yeah.
Because they had booked somebody for 2 days in a row, and they couldn't bear to have that person back. And I have to tell you, in all honesty, I don't remember who it was.
Yeah.
I blocked it only because I'm sure it was a good friend of mine. And so they I
think that happens a lot in that business. Yeah.
What's that?
I think that happens a lot in that business. There's a little bit
every
of like
every business.
You're replacing a friend. There's a bit of like you don't want to, but you want the job, but you don't want to. You're taking.
But also, I think when you're working so much, and any job that you want to do well, you take home with you. You think about, it's not just a 9 to 5. You don't want the 9 to 5 to be worse. So you want to hire people that'll work well. And so Bob had asked me if I would replace this person just that one day. And I said, sure. And, excuse me. Sorry.
Coke trip?
Worst thing about putting on makeup, my nose runs the whole time because of all the powder in the air. But anyway, I have a huge background in theater, in improv. I started stand-up late in life. I started stand-up when I was 30. Yeah. I'd already done everything. And so I'm sitting there in a room where no one's watching me. It's just my voice, and Bob's talking. And we were hilarious. And
of course you were.
Yeah, so it ended up, I came back and I ended up doing the midday and then they moved me into the morning show when they had to get the morning show started, and the rest is history. And then as people got fired and they lost more and more money and streamlined the whole thing, I was the last person there. And
you were. They
fired me. That I didn't get any compensation. I didn't get any. I was there 3 years. I didn't get any money.
Yeah,
nothing. And at the time, I was like, I just didn't. Some people had sued Proud FM and got money, and I was like, you know what? I'm not squeezing a stone. I haven't got the strength, and I don't care. I was just happy to be gone.
That's it. You know what? For your mental health, you probably did the right thing, because really, at the end of the day, how much money would have gotten?
Nothing. I wasn't making anything.
No, that's
I almost went. I went directly onto unemployment. I couldn't even go on unemployment. It was weird. It was the whole thing. It was awful. It really was a huge turning point in my life where I think it's when I started doing. I was already doing YouTube, but it's when I started applying myself to YouTube.
Well, so thank you. You're leading into my next question. So is this when Wilma Fingerdoo was born?
Wilma Fingerdoo was born when I was working at Out TV. I'm a media whore. Let's start. If it was gay and media related in Canada, I was there, and I apologize to everyone who got sick and tired of looking at me. I was the Carla Collins of gay TV and radio. I ended up. I was doing a thing on Out TV called This Week on Out TV, and it was for their broadcast to promote their online portal, because at that time nobody knew what there was. There was maybe Netflix, but there wasn't like Crave and Prime and Disney Plus and all of that stuff.
Right.
So having an online portal that you could watch programming through was still new. So we were promoting that portal by doing a commercial on their broadcast, and it was just me talking about the shows that week. And while we were doing that, season 4 of Drag Race was starting, and that's the season with Sharon Needles.
Yeah.
And Hedda Lettuce, a New York drag queen, and you would recognize her to see her because she always wears a green wig. Hedda Lettuce.
Yeah.
She did a promo video of her own, like a review of the cast for season 4, and it was so scathing and dismissive and hilarious. Like at one point she just said nachos, and she had nachos in her hand and started eating them. It was just the most ridiculously she cut everyone down, and I thought it was the funniest thing. And I said to the people at Out TV, you should get a queen to do that. You should get somebody to do that. And they said, well, why don't you just do it? And the thing with TV and film, as you know, people like to work with people they know. It's not necessarily if they're the best, but if they know you and you're not trouble, they'll hire you.
That's right.
And so they just would rather work with me than like a drag queen who may not be reliable, doesn't
a new entity.
And so
unknown quantity,
Yeah. So I sew for drag queens. And at the time I was house sitting for Misconception. And I started Wilma in her workroom. Which was also where I worked. I sewed her dresses in that workroom, and so they were all behind me, and that's how we filmed. I filmed Wilma at first. It was for that season 4 thing, and it was just me reviewing the episode, and I invented Jorge at that time because I don't know. There's something about me being on camera by myself. I get bored, so I like to, look at people. They're not there, but,
Well, so explain to people that don't know who Jorge is in your videos.
Okay, so Jorge is my houseboy, and the idea of Jorge was that Wilma had a houseboy, but Jorge was really in the backstory for Jorge was his name was George, and he was from Brampton. But Wilma, my initial idea of Wilma Fingerdoo was that she was kind of like an Edna, Dame Edna type character, which is just full of herself. You know what I mean? And it ended up not being the character, and that's fine. But in my mind, Jorge was George from Brampton, but I had to make him more interesting, and I called him Jorge, to make him sound international. And so it was it was the whole Jorge, drink me, and that all came because at the time in Drag Race they had the Smirnoff sponsor, and there was always a cocktail in the Untucked Lounge, which was part of the actual show itself. And so that's the only reason I don't even drink.
Yeah. Well, they're not even real drinks that he's giving you, right?
No,
they're just like
it was. I got those water enhancers that had color in them. And club soda. Yeah.
See, my drinks would be real. They'd be doubles.
Well, and good for you. And I did. In fact, in the beginning, I did have because I worked at the LCBO, so I mean, I didn't get a deal on alcohol, but I was there. So it was easy for me to go, oh, I need this. And then get a little bottle of something or something. And then I did tutorials on how to make drinks. And the funny thing there was I started getting people going, oh, can you show us how to make that without alcohol? It's like, yeah, just don't add the alcohol.
Yeah. Same ingredients.
What the hell is wrong with people?
Yeah.
So I get very quickly pissed off with people who are stupid.
Yeah.
No offense to anybody, but most of the people that watch my videos are very smart,
Stupid.
very funny.
Oh, smart.
That's great. But every once in a while, you get that one person who's like, well, I didn't understand you.
Yeah. You have been doing this for a long time. I know at the beginning also you had a beard. You kept the beard.
I did.
You had like facial hair and a wig, so it was kind of
no makeup, just eyelashes, a wig,
right,
and a full beard, and maybe some foundation to even out my skin tone, but that was as much as I did.
Yeah. So there was a transition period where you were like, you started very, dipping your toe.
Yeah. And then I also made my hats. The other thing was I wasn't going to make outfits, but I thought it would be fun to make a hat that reflected the challenge or that episode.
That's right.
So I always made a little hat, and I love a hat, and I wish I still made them. I wish I had time to make them. I don't even have time to make myself new tops. You know what I mean? So it's,
well, the nice thing is you're only filmed like from here up, right? So it's like you never.
I'm doing the full RuPaul. I don't even have pants on right now.
That's right. Yeah, you could just be naked from the waist down. Yeah, slippers and just like, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah. No, I don't. I like. It's hard to make a full dress if you're just sitting.
Well, but why?
So I made all of my things initially in two pieces. So it was a skirt and a top. And then you would add a belt. You know what I mean? You wouldn't see that it was two pieces. It looked like a full outfit. And a lot of the things came down to the waist in a peplum. And then the skirt would go underneath. And then the peplum hid the transition.
Yes.
So, and I spent years. I spent almost 20 years working in wardrobe and film and television. So sewing is something I can do. It's not a hard thing. I can make things quick without a pattern sometimes, like if it's like last minute. So I really relied on that a lot too. But in the first stages of Wilma Fingerdoo, I was in Misconception's workroom, and I would take dresses of hers off the rack. Most of them I had made, and I'd put them on, but they hung down in front of me. So it was literally just my neckline that you saw, and you couldn't see that I wasn't wearing anything else.
Yeah.
And so I ended up building on that, and I made like a nude collar with a ruffle on it that I could put over anything. And so that became my thing. And then once I shaved, I had broken up with my boyfriend at the time, and we got along. We still get along. A super nice guy, but our relationship had run its course. But one of the things that he likes is facial hair. And I remember once I had to shave for some reason, and I at that time said to me, "Are you going to keep it off?" And I said, "I don't know. I kind of like, the only reason I had a beard was to show people where my chin was meant to be."
Yeah.
And he said, because I don't know if that might be a deal breaker. And I'm like, so I'm not enough, but you know what I mean? Like that, I just always stuck in my head. So when we broke up, and again, I don't think he meant it to sound the way it sounded, but it did. And so I ended up, when I moved on my own from our relationship, I shaved. So it was almost overnight that Wilma went from a bearded queen, like from one season to the next, to full makeup. And
you're like, okay, fuck you.
Yeah, and I'm an art school person, so putting makeup on is not a hard thing, but it's the finesse and the grace notes of it, and I've gotten better over time for sure.
Well, and we've seen the progression like over the years too, and like all the queens on Drag Race, like a lot of them, not all of them, some of them come in super polished, but a lot of them have the glow ups. You see over the years, they start a certain way and then they have this major glow up, and because
the Drag Queen's the best example of that, because when she came in her season, which she won, she had crappy outfits, her makeup was a little rough, her wigs were okay, but that's not the kind of queen she is. She's a bar queen.
That's right.
She goes into a bar in a unitard and works for 3 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She's not that other type of queen. She's a host as well, which as I am. So hosting is a different kettle of fish. It's not just lip syncing.
It's not looks. Yeah.
No, you have
doing
to
death drops and looks, right?
Which is fine. That's a whole other side of drag, but it's not everyone's side.
Absolutely not.
So you want to have a show where you've got a couple of death droppers and a good person on the mic. And
that's right. Somebody who can get the crowd speaking. So yesterday I did my first live on YouTube.
Oh my.
Yes.
What did you think?
No, it was I loved it, and I'm kicking myself for not starting it sooner because I love the interaction with the people, and it's live, and they're asking questions, and I can answer in the moment, and I just felt a real connection with them. The
There's
funny
no
thing,
editing.
there's no editing, which is fine with me. From our radio days, like there is that's it. It's out there. But it's funny because at one point we got into Drag Race. Like my channel is not about Drag Race, bathhouses, cruising, you know, that kind of thing. And
Huge.
the you know, and we started talking about Drag Race, and we went on and on. So my point is, it's like the Drag Race, drag culture is so pervasive and has so like infiltrated our lives in sort of every little like aspect. I was not planning to talk about that. It's not part of my brand, but there we were talking about Drag Race. So you as a channel who talks about Drag Race, I mean, and you cover all of them. I don't know how you do it. Like every
Well, I don't
season,
anymore.
all the all-stars. Okay.
Yeah, last year, during lockdown, I developed diabetes without knowing, and I ended up with severely swollen, and I had open wounds on my legs and everything. And finally,
Wow.
like I didn't realize how bad it was because I was just avoiding it.
Yeah.
I knew I couldn't walk as well. It was locked down anyway. I wasn't going anywhere.
Yeah.
And so one day the building manager came by and said, "There's a smell on this floor." We were wondering if it was coming from your apartment. Apparently it was me. I
You're
had these
kidding.
open wounds on my. No, I'm not.
Oh,
And
wow.
so I literally that day I called my friend and said, "I need to get to the hospital. I think you need to help me." And he's like,
Oh my
"Okay, I'll
God,
be
yeah.
over right away." And I said, "Could you give it an hour because I'm almost finished editing a video."
Oh my God.
All I can think
Classic.
of is I won't be in the hospital all day thinking that video's not up online.
It's still
And
sitting there. Yeah.
no, but so the funny thing is that in the time it took him to come over anyway, I finished editing. I went to the hospital. I was there for a month.
Yeah.
They had to treat these open wounds on my legs. I'm fine now, except that I have to wear compression socks to keep my legs from swelling. But my legs aren't swollen.
Yeah.
I've lost a lot of weight because I'm just eating differently. I'm also making a huge point of eating less. My big thing for eating is I get bored.
Mm-hmm.
Cheese is everyone's friend. You know what I mean?
Oh my God,
Also,
yeah.
I do a lot of eating in front of the TV where I'm not paying attention. So I really don't have any idea how much I've eaten. And so I'm making myself much more aware of that. But now, like I'm not, I don't walk as well as I used to have to use a walker. I'm kind of limited that way. But
So that
part of
experience.
this process coming out of all of that is
Yeah.
getting back into Wilma. And
Yeah.
as I was saying, like even unpacking, I still don't know where stuff is. I'm
Yeah.
still trying to figure it out. But I've done a couple of sewing tutorial videos since coming out of the hospital. I still have to do my makeup and movies as something else that I want to do more of. And I have a couple of them planned. I just have to film them. And on top of that, I also sew for a couple of queens here in Toronto. And like even that, I was sewing yesterday and I was like, oh, where is that thing? Oh, I'll have to look for it, but I'm going to have to look for it
Yeah.
progressively. I can't just stop what I'm doing and look for that one thing.
Yeah.
So right now I'm kind of trying to acquaint myself with the filming process while I'm taking care of my health and while I'm trying to figure out my new apartment. And the funny thing is like I put stuff places in my apartment and realize that's not the best place for that. So I have to move stuff. And it's the same with filming. Like now I film in the bedroom I have because I was in a bachelor. Everything was the bedroom before.
Yes.
And now everything else is in the living room. So if I sew or do anything else, it's in a whole other room. So the nice thing is the lights and everything that I use to film are only ever in my bedroom. And if they're
Yes.
not out being used, they're up against the wall. And they're not.
And then you can also use them for your OnlyFans that you have because the lights are in your bedroom, right?
The
So
two.
that's good. Yeah.
I admire people who do that. I would never do that. So I went online. Is it Pornhub where they have live feeds? So if you're watching a video, and it's always like a video and then all the other videos you can click on or anything, there's usually on the side live channels. And
probably Pornhub.
I'm fascinated by that. Because as a large person, I always think that the people that do that kind of thing, and I think it's great. I don't judge it at all. But I always think that they're physically fit, beautiful, examples of the human body and stuff like that. Because that's just how I've always acquainted porn.
I think a lot of people do.
With my own body issues and what I love about these live feeds is it's if you're into it, there's someone doing it. You know what I mean? It doesn't, there's no
and all
shame.
different kinds of people.
Absolutely. Shapes, sizes, ages. It's all out there. And it really, I
Yeah.
wish that porn had been like that when I was growing up, because in the 80s, it was all that waxed and tanned,
It
perfect.
fucked with you. Yeah. Tanned.
Well, and then you think that's what everyone's supposed to look like. And then you forget while you're walking down the street that maybe 1% of the population does look like that.
Yeah.
You're actually in the norm, and calm down.
Yeah, exactly.
The bear community helped a lot when that started to come around, and I started noticing like big old hairy men, like men's men. They didn't have decorators, and they didn't have stylists. They were just guys. And that's when I started to kind of settle into the community more.
Yeah,
that didn't happen until I was in my 30s.
Yeah. Wilma's so successful now that you have an illegitimate daughter.
Yes, my illegitimate drag daughter, Wilhelmina Boxfarts.
Tell me about her. So
we have to.
I know you guys have such a funny rapport with each other. So is this somebody that you knew for a while? How did that happen?
This is Ted Morris, my best friend.
Oh,
he and his partner, Jeff Mason, are two of my oldest friends. I've known Ted 30 years.
Wow.
Ish, 25.
Really?
We started doing stand-up comedy at the same time. Oh. I was running a room in the city of Toronto where the Red Spot was, and now it's the Drink, I think.
On Church?
I'm not sure what it's called. Anyway, so I was doing this open mic, and it was in a gay bar on Church Street, but it wasn't gay comics. I wasn't going to limit the performance, because the thing that people forget about the gay community is we're raised by straight people.
Yeah.
We speak your language. We understand you. So if you're talking to us about straight things, we're like,
Yeah. I get it. Yeah.
Not a problem. But do we prefer to hear about our own community? Sure. Yeah. But that said, I was running this room and I got this phone call one day in the bar, which is not normal. It was somebody asking about the comedy room and how they sign up. And I was like, oh, just come down. Just come down. Where are you from? I said. He goes, I'm in Guelph. And my rule is, if you travel to come to the room, you get stage time. If you just got on a subway,
then we'll see.
You got on a subway and didn't bring anybody to buy a drink, I'm not going to give you stage time. But if you came out of town to do this, you're committed. I'm giving you the time. That's how we met. Ted started doing my room, and then we started doing comedy touring together as Oot and Deboot. Okay. And it was him and I, and we had a third person who ended up quitting comedy in the process of what we were doing, which was too bad because they were very, very funny. But they do something else in the public speaking venue, which makes me happy because I do think they have a skill for that. So we ended up using other people.
Yeah.
We used usually always a woman, and because it was just two guys, we always wanted to have a woman. The comic that left was a woman, so we kind of felt that was the dynamic we wanted to maintain. And we had a fabulous comic named Fiona McCool on. Carla Collins was one of our comics at the show once. But that's how we started. And we toured, and we would do things like the Point campground. Yeah. We were the first stand-up comics they ever had there, and we ended up performing there for 5 or 6 years in a row.
You guys go way
back. And then
back.
They've since moved on. They created a much more permanent staging area. When we were there, it was a MASH tent.
Okay.
And we were outside the tent, and they had construction lights that you use to fix a car.
Yeah.
It was like being interrogated out in the woods. It was very funny. But now they have an enclosed space and a stage and lights and everything. And I know Misconception is a queen that performs there annually. But that's how we met, was in stand-up. And then we've just known each other forever. So we started in comedy. We did Oot and a Boot. That kind of fell apart. And then we've just been best friends ever since. We've done shows together and that. But I started doing Wilma. And as Ted, every once in a while, Ted would be over for something and he'd see me doing makeup and he'd be watching me. And I was like, what's wrong? He's nothing. I'm just watching what you're doing. He's like, oh. I said, do you want to try? Do you want me to put you in drag? He's like, sure.
Everybody wants to be put in drag.
Everyone wants to be put in drag.
Everybody does.
And Ted and Jeffrey and I have a history. Ted and I have been doing a show in Toronto called Homo Night in Canada that the Beat Girls host during Pride Week every year for 10, 12 years. I can't do it now because I can't stand on stage that long. But they just had another one. I wanted to go. But anyway, we used to, after that show, which was at Buddy's, which is Gloucester and Church, we'd come out onto Gloucester Church, walk up Church Street through the Friday night festivities of Pride Week.
Yeah.
To my apartment, which was north of Wellesley and Church. And we'd sit on my balcony and, smoke some smokables and drink some drinkables. And we'd have a wig party. And it was basically just they'd pull out all my wigs and try them all on. And that was the unofficial birth of Wilhelmina, because Ted put on this pink wig and he just looked like this baby bird, just all eyes and nose and hair. And it just made me laugh so hard. And so when I put him up in drag, he already had an idea for a name. We played board games, the three of us. And so like really intense, like German board games, award-winning European board games. And so whenever you close the box on a game, it farts, And so they just called that box farts. So he said, I remember years ago, said, if I was ever a drag queen, I'd be Wilhelmina Boxfarts.
So he already had a name.
So that's how it kind of came together. But Ted and I also, because like we both do improv, we're both very like we make each other laugh all the time. It's not like we're on and being funny, we're just funny. And I know that sounds self-centered, me saying it, but it's just true. We're just funny. Like there are some people who are trying to be funny, them, and you sense they're trying, and it's like, okay, God bless. But so it was no problem for, like, it was absolutely, the next progression was just to film with Ted.
Yeah,
and so
I'm surprised it took this long. I had no idea you had so much history. I'm surprised it took this long.
No, we've known each other for so long, and well, it's interesting. I was very surprised that he was interested in drag, only because not everybody who's gay is,
Yeah, that's true.
And
that's fair.
Also, Ted's a doctor. He's a veterinarian. Like, he's not an artistic person background-wise. Like, so when he holds his pen to write, he looks like he's holding a weapon.
Yeah.
So when he puts on his makeup on, the way he holds his brushes is like, oh, honey.
Yeah.
I've had to teach him not just how to hold a brush, but techniques to brushing and using the brush in a way that it does all the work for you. You're not doing anything, and he's getting so much better at it now. Like, the other day,
I mean, you're a great teacher then, because like I was going to compliment his makeup and say, oh, did he learn that himself or you taught him? But like, okay, that's
I'm also one of those people. I'm constantly watching videos.
Yeah.
I like to see what's happening. Like Drag Race All Stars 9 just happened, and Chanel from season 1 was back, and I still think she has the best makeup skills of Drag Race history over Raven.
Oh wow!
Because she uses a lot of color, and it's just incredible. Raven's great at a structured face, giving the contours, giving that beige face, so you can wear anything with it. And when Raven does Ru's makeup, it's more or less neutrals, like wedding palette. Very, very soft, very natural, and that's Ru's brand.
Right.
But when Ru has color on her face, like that's when I'm like, ooh,
interesting.
And, Raven does it, but not a lot. Whereas Chanel only ever does that. It's all full color, full tilt boogie. And so even recently, I've been watching in the workroom scenes of Drag Race. I always watch them in different stages of putting on their makeup.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of tutorials. I have tutorials. I have a tutorial on how to contour your nose or how to build your own eyelashes and that. But it's constantly changing. There's constantly somebody who's created or found a new or better way to do something. And I love that. That's exciting to me. So there's a queen out of Britain right now, Cardi Black. She's the best. She's this 20-something lovely little blonde thing who does drag, like how to do drag if you've never done it, like how to do it. Yeah. But also how to do like male to female transformations that aren't necessarily drag, like they look more natural. And she's just very talented, and she breaks it all down into a very accessible way. So I'm constantly sending Wilhelmina those things. Here, watch this. Or sometimes if it's a makeup product, like this product just came out from Mad Witch Productions. It's a blush palette. Yeah. This is the best blush palette for a drag queen because there's multiple colors. Yeah. And you use the different colors to create your layers and shaping. And I got that for Wilhelmina because she was using some blush palettes that I had given her, but I'd given her them for a reason. I didn't like them.
You're done.
And, they just weren't working for me. But also, there's no point using good makeup when you're learning.
Okay.
It's just a
That's
waste,
fair. That's true.
so.
That's true.
And
What I like
I'm constantly handing her something. Try that. Oh,
try this.
you need
Well,
this
she has to
brush.
find her voice, so to speak. And I think that she has
That's
like
how
her.
Ted. I have to tell you, Ted talks like that. That is Ted. Oh, Wilma.
Yes,
It's
yes.
much more affected when he's in drag,
Yeah, but he
but
talks like
that's
that
more or less
anyway.
how he
Oh, that's
talks.
funny. And what's that
And he's always
expression
made
that he
me.
like that expression? Like, is that how he looks normally, or that's his
Yeah,
drag face? Like he's being a
no,
character.
that's exactly.
That's ridiculous.
That's Ted. Ted is one of the. It's so funny because he looks like the nicest person, but if he gets heckled,
Yeah,
he'll drop a C bomb on somebody
yeah,
without a blink and never lose the smile. And they're like,
yeah,
"Did he just swear at me? I can't even tell."
yeah.
It's very funny. He's one of the best comics working in Canada. By
So you've obviously seen the two-parter Global All Stars. Are we
yes,
allowed to talk about it? Have you done a video? I didn't.
absolutely.
Okay, so thoughts, go.
Well, I was very impressed that there's only one queen per country.
Okay.
And then I realized there are 12 franchises out there. Like,
Oh yeah.
not all the franchises, like Holland isn't anything anymore, which is too bad.
Oh,
And I feel like there's a couple out there that might not last. France, I think, is the best franchise.
they tried it. You know what? Which one I like is Spain.
Yep, Spain's good. Mexico's not bad, but I'm really impressed with the dichotomy of the queens from France. There's just a cerebralness because it's an art country.
Yeah.
They approach drag with more intention. Like I feel like sometimes you talk to an American drag queen and they're just doing it to look pretty.
Yeah.
A lot of queens like, oh, I just do it for the tip so I can drink for free. It's like, well, okay.
Right. Okay.
But
Well.
I feel like in Paris, it's much more of a piece, not just a performance. And then Spain. Oh my God! Any Latin country, you have to watch their drag queens because it's a different kettle of fish. They have a different idea of what the body should look like and things like that. It's lovely.
Well, that's so to that point, like different parts of the world have different perspectives on life, different things that mean something to them that don't necessarily mean the same to other people from other parts of the world. So my point is that being global all-stars, I think it's fantastic. I love that they're bringing the world together. However, it's still English. We have to speak English. And if English is your second language, your third language, there's going to be stuff lost in translation. Snatch game is going to be hard. The improv things, the roast, like all of these things that are very, and not just English, but like American.
Yeah, cultural. Yeah,
very cultural. That's the word, cultural. It's very American.
Canada, we're connected. We're very American in our culture without needing to be.
Yes, but even then,
we're also very British in our culture.
That's right. We're not 100% because exactly. So sometimes when you're watching the British one, there's still stuff lost in translation, even though it's the same language. So for me, it'll be interesting to see.
I always think of Canadians as being multilingual socially because we do understand America. We might not agree with it. We may not want to live there.
We speak it.
But we are familiar with what's going on. And we know that this is the type of personality that's prevalent there. And then with Britain, there's a lot of referencing in Britain that most people, an American wouldn't get, but we get it because we're not a colony anymore, but we were. And a lot of our culture is British. So it's unless you're in Quebec, and then I don't know what to say.
Well, then you're on your own. And then but then there's the Australians also. Like I feel like I can understand the Australians maybe better than an American would, again, or a French person might not.
I love the Australian one. It's one of my favorites.
A lot of people don't,
No.
Yeah.
But Kita being the first queen that won, she and I chat on Instagram a lot. She's one of the few queens that actually reached out to me when I was in the hospital just to make sure I was okay.
Oh.
Her and Blue Hydrangea from Britain.
Really?
Yeah.
Blue grew on me. I don't know. At first, she wasn't on my radar.
I love Blue.
And
she's a sweetheart.
Yeah.
I think that she's one of those queens that's just very supportive, but not a pushover.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that there's a great international community. And the thing I love about the All-Stars, Global All-Stars, is just not just how different the queens are, but different age. Like Alyssa Edwards.
Yeah.
You don't get more OG than that.
Yeah, that's like legend status.
And then we have Thea from Canada, who is such a great queen. She had that great double-headed runway that everyone like lost their mind over.
Everyone went crazy.
She's so talented. She's
Like
so
an
good, but
artist.
she's a Canadian, and I say that by meaning she's very quiet about it. She's not
Yeah.
crowing all the time,
That's
like
right.
an American would.
She won't be all Kennedy Davenport about it and be like, well, no, but there's that American bravado.
Yeah.
That they have,
yeah. And
whether
Kennedy's
it's warranted
on
or
Canada
not.
versus the world, and I love Kennedy Davenport. I think she's one of the most underrated queens, although she's done well and has a good following.
Yeah.
I think she's also been the butt of jokes a few times, but she was the first queen to do a male on Snatch Game.
Yeah.
For Little Richard. Shut up! It's so funny.
Also,
I a great speed voice.
That's right. I switched from global to Canada versus the world there, didn't I?
I did it.
Yeah. Because she's on Canada versus the world? Okay. See, there's too many franchises. I can't keep up. They did the RuPaul.
So I don't do any of them that I have to read subtitles on. And that's not a judgment on subtitles. Like, I don't mind subtitles as a person.
Yeah.
But when I'm watching Drag Race, it's on and I'm typing my script as I'm watching it.
Yeah.
I do it in two goes. The first time, I just get my initial response to the whole thing. And then the next time I'm doing screen grabs and being more specific. And I find with anything I have to read a subtitle to, I have to watch it 3 times.
Yeah.
Once to know what's going on, once to make my script, and then once to do the script. It's like, that's too many times. So no offense to anybody. I do watch France, but I don't review it. I don't do any of them that are a foreign language just for that. And
well, how could you anyways? There's too many of them.
It's so many. There's too
many. You don't
have
time. You can't. I mean,
and they're not all worth watching. I mean, I don't like watching Canada's Drag Race. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think it's very good.
It's not.
No, and I watched Canada versus the world only because there were some queens on there I was interested in. Like,
so what did you think of the RuPaul?
On Canada?
Yeah.
The Snatch Game musical?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
It was all right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I find sometimes the Snatch Game. I find sometimes the musicals are a hard push. Like, it's like, if you've never written a musical, don't start now.
Yeah. It depends on the queens, I guess. It depends on the cast, I guess. Like sometimes it's more stacked with talent for musicals, and sometimes it's more stacked for fashion. Sometimes, it just, I think. I liked that idea though of combining the two, because then I don't have to sit through a full episode of Snatch Game, which sometimes
I was really impressed with how they handled it. Like, but it's still it wasn't the worst. Actually, I have to say all of the musicals are fun to watch on some level, but there are definite winners.
Yeah,
I thought that the Rosemary's Baby on All Stars 9 was great.
Yes. Yeah.
I didn't like it the first time I watched it, but then the second time when I was doing screen grabs, I was tapping a toe. I was like, oh, this is actually pretty good.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't, it happens so fast and you don't hear all the words and the writing and you miss things. And then so watching it again, because sometimes it's really clever, the words. And
that's the other thing. I watch each episode like 2 or 3 times. So I get a really good sense of what happened in that episode and I retain it for a week or 2.
Yeah.
But then like somebody will go, what happened on that? And I'm like, I don't know. I have a life. I'm doing things.
Oh my God, please. I know. Do you have a favorite queen?
A favorite queen of all time?
All time. Top 3.
Well, I love Jinx Monsoon. I just do. I did her season. I have since.
So talented,
I think she's doing really well.
Yeah.
I also enjoy Trixie Mattel, although I hate her makeup. I don't think her makeup's very good. It bothers me that she makes bad makeup. She has yet to produce a black eyeshadow that's black. It makes me crazy. But
really?
I like her. I like her innovation and her interest in perpetuating her own career. So the Trixie Motel was a great idea.
Yeah.
We're buying a motel. Let's make a show about it.
Yes.
We're buying a house. Let's make a show about it. Like, good for you. And she's a talented musician.
Yeah.
And her albums are great. And her comedy tour, she's worked with Ted Wilhelmina. They've been on stage together. And she's very funny. And I don't deny her a second. I just wish her makeup was better. I love Chanel. I love Kennedy Davenport, but I think I would say Bob the Drag Queen, Jinx Monsoon. I love Angeria too. I'm sorry, but I love her.
She was very likable.
She's likable. Raja O'Hara was one of those queens. I didn't like her season because she was very quick to be mean. She was
Yeah.
also on the season with the Vixen,
Yeah.
who I called the victim, because she just seemed to everyone was against her. And,
Yeah.
I don't, okay, fine. But Raja turned it around. Another queen I love, who I didn't, Roxy Andrews. Her first season, she just picked on Jinx Monsoon in a way that was just
Yes. That's so
vicious.
funny. Me too. She
And
really redeemed herself. Is
yeah,
that a
and then
word?
she came back for All Stars 6, I think, and she did a real retribution, like
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
episode. Like, she seemed much more user friendly. And now for All Stars 9, I thought she did a great job because she was kind and generous, but not a
Yeah.
pushover.
Yeah. 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 Still competitive, but not a pushover. I
Yeah.
like that. I like when sometimes you see them first, like Georges. The first time I
Yeah.
saw Georges, I was like, meh. I don't. I get it. Feels one note, whatever. Not a huge fan. You're born for drag. Okay, great. But I wasn't a huge fan. But in the All Stars season, he really grew on me. And then
Yeah.
something.
Well, the thing I hate about Georges is she's young, so she's stupid. And
Yeah.
I mean that in the best way possible. I don't think she's ignorant. I just
Yeah.
think she's stupid. And
Yeah.
one of the proofs of that is her saying, "Oh, that's so gapey," and she brings a lot of her pop culture and sex culture into the drag, which
Yeah.
is fine if you're in a bar.
Yeah. Not
You're
on
on
national
television right now,
television.
you stupid little
Yeah.
idiot.
She's young.
You've got eight-year-olds watching this show.
Yeah.
But I don't like it even when RuPaul says don't fuck it up, because to me it's like, I know that you aimed this at an adult audience.
Yeah.
And initially that's probably all that was watching it, but it's evolved and it's become something else, and the show hasn't.
Yeah.
And I look at somebody like Georges, who I started to like her too for All Stars. I didn't dislike her, I just didn't care.
Yeah.
But she grew on me. But
Yeah.
there's just those things where I watch them and I think, when you're 30, you're going to hate this.
Yeah. Because now,
and
even
that's
now,
fine.
it's cringy. You're gonna look at this and cringe because
Yeah. But
I'm-
I think that of a lot of people. There's a lot of people that have been on Drag Race. They weren't young.
oh my
they
god,
were
yeah.
just
Well, you're
stupid.
young. You don't know. I mean, the things that I've done and said. I mean, like, geez. I mean, and it wasn't on TV and it wasn't filmed. But the things I regret. I mean, like, it's not
I
easy.
always find it funny when you watch these shows. Drag Race included in any reality show where there's cameras around. It's like, do you not see the cameras? You're saying
Yeah,
all this stupid
I
stuff,
know,
and you're
I
acting
know.
like they're going to edit it out for your
Yeah.
sake. It's like, no.
Yeah. Yeah, the worst things that you say, those are the things they're keeping. You know that, right? Like, you guys don't get that by now? I
I'm
don't.
going to base another season on that thing you just said.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I'm going to give you a Sophie's choice. This will be my last question for you. I'm going to give you a Sophie's choice. Ready? You can only keep one of these: chinwag, makeup in movies, or that's so Wilma.
Makeup in movies.
Which one do you keep? Oh, and why?
I love it. I love movies. I've always loved movies. My last boyfriend and I met talking about movies.
Yeah.
I have watched almost every movie there is to watch at least once, and if I haven't, it's because it was probably a war movie.
You've watched
or a
every
horror
single
movie.
Oh, you don't like
I
horror
don't like
movies?
horror. I watch horror now.
Yeah.
It's so funny. I couldn't watch horror because I couldn't sleep at night.
Yeah.
I was that person who was like, what's that?
Yeah.
No rationality the minute the lights go off. In fact, I'm not comfortable in complete darkness.
Yeah.
Which is ironic because I hosted a ghost hunting show on TV.
That's hilarious.
But I've been watching horror lately. I started with the Conjuring series, and
oh wow, you went in deep. Okay.
When a horror movie's done well,
yes,
I really enjoy it. It's like I love this, like, and then I laugh at myself for being scared.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's a turnaround. I don't know if it's because I'm closer to death now and I don't care. I don't know, but yeah, that's.
I like the perspective that horror movies give you, because it's kind of like, well, first of all, my life isn't as bad as that. Whatever's happening on the screen, you're like, okay, I feel better about my life, first of all, and it gives you that, like, little adrenaline, like, stuff.
Yeah,
but the makeup
it's also a casual training ground.
Yeah.
If I were at a campground and I was being chased, what is the best thing not to do? Well, run off into the woods wearing just underwear. That's the worst thing.
Yeah, barefoot. The gays, they love horror movies. There's a weird connection.
It's true.
With
it's
gays
a
and horror
huge
movies.
thing in the gay community. I don't know why.
Yeah. There's some psychological thing that we're not going to get into right now. But yeah, the chinwag makeup in movies, just so everybody's clear, and That's So Wilma. Those are playlists on your channel for people
Yeah,
that
I
don't
have
know, right?
my chinwag is where I interview people.
Yeah,
I haven't done one of those in a while, but I was interviewing like this. It was like a podcast thing where it was just me talking to somebody, and I
yeah.
was in full makeup. And I think it started with Lawrence Cheney from the third
Of
season of
course,
Drag
yeah.
Race UK.
Lawrence
Uh,
Cheney.
yeah, oh no, second
That was
season, and
bad.
then the third season I interviewed Victoria Scone.
Oh yes, of
I've been
course.
trying to get Simone and Angeria. Angeria, I have to say, is another queen that's messaged me
Oh yeah,
randomly on YouTube for no reason, just or
yeah,
message, just
yeah.
commented,
Because
and
she's a
I'm
smart
so
business lady.
flattered.
She's networking. She's a smart
Yeah,
business lady. She knows
yeah,
what she's doing. It's
yeah,
important,
yeah.
right?
But
Yeah.
oh, I just lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry.
Oh, there it goes. Choo choo.
Yeah.
What were we talking about?
Um.
That's okay. Well, I'm gonna have you back on anyway, so right?
What oh, with the chinwags. I'm so sorry. But I
Oh,
also
right.
interviewed like comics and just regular people. I think
So
I've
not
done
just
an
drag
interview
queens.
with my Jorge, the guy that plays Jorge when you actually see a Jorge here. It's
Yeah.
Ryan Russell,
Yes.
international gay porn star, friend of
Yes.
mine. Friend of ours.
Yes.
But
Friend of ours for sure. Yes.
yeah, I'm so sorry my notes is wrong.
No, that's okay.
But yeah, I love to do the chinwags because it's from my radio days interviewing people. I like talking to people. So
I love talking to people. Yeah.
and I just didn't find them. It's hard to find somebody that you want to talk to, like of interest. Like, what's the point?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's also I find it like it's weird to kind of rely on other people for things to film and stuff. That's So Wilma, I love to do, but the problem with those is it's the logistics of filming them. Now that I'm in a new place and I have a separate place for sewing, I think it's going to be easier
Yeah, you can set it
to
up.
do that. So I have some things planned. Last thing I did was gloves for Pride last year. This year.
Cool.
But yeah, like I have a video on there on how to buy a sewing machine at a yard sale. If you see one, like what do you look for? How do you know it's good? And things like that. But I haven't got a lot of sewing things. But I will be doing.
Well, please keep doing the sewing ones because some of these queens on Drag Race need to like be watching
The
your
reason
videos
I
and
do
learning.
them is for the queens on Drag Race.
How can you still not know how to sew? Learn it. It's a skill. Just learn it. It's not like rocket science. Just take a class. No? Wilma,
but it's the youth. It's the age of a lot of these queens. Like they show up, they think, "Oh, I'm going to do Snatch Game because I look like this person." It's like,
right,
well,
and that's enough.
You're not funny.
Yeah, but what's coming out of your mouth?
Look at who won. They don't look anything or sound anything like that person.
That's right.
And yet they were hilarious.
That's
right.
100%.
Yeah, I think of Alaska's first Snatch Game where she did Lady Bunny and she had this weird voice. It was like, who is that?
Yeah. As long as it's funny, just Rue's laughing, then you're winning.
Absolutely.
That's all that matters.
But yeah, I do have plans for both of those to continue. But the thing I like about doing the makeup in movies is I'm talking about a movie.
Yes.
That is usually a classic film a lot of people haven't seen lately.
Yeah.
And a lot of the kids have never heard of. And like I have one planned where I'm just going to talk about Ruth Gordon and all of the work she's done because there's so much. And doing one movie, like I could do Rosemary's Baby, but she's not the star of that. And I could do Harold and Maude, which she was the star of, but I'd rather do one on her. So that's the next one I have planned. I want to do the Outsiders, which is where Tom Cruise, Patrick Swayze, Rob Lowe, they were all in this movie
in the 80s or something, right?
Yeah, famous. Ralph Macchio, the Karate Kid, is in it. It's a great movie.
Yeah,
but a lot of people don't know it, and this is well before any of them were famous. And I'm trying to think of some films though. I just did Death Becomes Her.
Oh, great.
But yeah, I always try and pick a film that no one's ever heard of. Like I've done All About Eve with Bette Davis and that.
Yeah, but films that they should know about, but maybe
if you're a drag queen,
yeah,
you should know this. You should have this reference in your library for looks, for clapbacks, and for throwing shade because they're all there. Yeah, the classic black and white, Yeah, that's drag queen training right there.
And I mean, we have that in common, you and I, that curiosity. This is what keeps us going. I feel like this, like, curiosity and this, like, this desire to keep creating. You
Yeah.
keep creating new, like that. So Wilma, and that these offshoots of, like, the brand, because you're full of ideas and you're a curious person and you want to do that. And I think that's what keeps you going.
I'm drawn to people like that. I think this is why you and I are friends. This is why a lot of people, Ryan and I, are friends. I really admire people that create their own life.
Mhm.
And an example of this is Jennifer Saunders.
Yeah.
Absolutely fabulous. She started with Dawn French. They were just little comedy actors, and they created a show together.
Yeah.
And then she went on and created, I think, 5 or 6 shows that have been mainstays of British television.
Yeah.
The top one being Absolutely Fabulous. She wrote that. She
Yeah.
started it. She created it. She wouldn't have a job if she hadn't have written that out. I love that.
Yeah.
Anyone who does that gets top marks for me.
Yeah.
And I don't think of myself as doing that, but that's exactly what I do. I've never
That's who you
waited
are.
for anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. When
that's who you are.
I wanted to act, like a lot of comics that go into stand up,
Yeah.
start as actors that weren't getting auditions. No one wanted to see them. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I got to get on stage.
Uh-huh.
Oh, I can do this way.
Yeah. I'll write my own stuff.
And that's
Make my
certainly
own.
what I did. Yeah.
100%.
And now, everything that I do, I do.
Yeah.
Like nobody's coming to, like, that's not true. I've worked with some people on TV shows where they've come to me and asked me to do it, and it might not, like Knock Knock Ghost. I don't know if I would have hosted a ghost show
if they didn't approach you
on my own, but they asked me, and I work with. These are all people I work with, and I was like, okay.
Yeah, it's an opportunity. Well, that's the other thing.
They're great people to work with, and again, it's not necessarily the best or the brightest, but it's people that I get along with.
Yeah,
I like working and spending time with, and if we're going to have a long weekend of filming, I don't want to hate the people on the top of it.
Absolutely. And you say yes, like you said yes to coming on Queerly Us. So thank you, Wilma. I appreciate it.
Well, I'm just sitting here.
Yeah,
looking gorgeous.
Well, now you're in makeup. You're gonna go film. So I hope you're going to be filming some other things. I'm going to be putting all of your links down in the description below for everybody to find you. Yes, so they can support you on Patreon and follow you on Instagram and subscribe to your channel and all that good stuff. And yeah, I'll talk to you again soon, Wilma. Thank you so much.
Well, if anyone drops by for the first time, make sure you say hi. I like to know who's new and who
isn't.
Yes.
Well, that's the nice thing about you. You're so involved with the community.
I'm single.
That's there for you.
I'm single.
I don't have pets or
pets. I don't have pets or plants. Yeah, I'm just lonely.
Wilma, thanks again. For the rest of you, I will see you in the next episode of Queerly Up.
Bye.